Caitlin Clark comes back and wins FIBA qualifier MVP. While all the other players are staying fresh, staying in the groove, going down to Unrivaled, playing 3v3 gimmick basketball, Caitlin Clark's recovering. Caitlin Clark's working on her craft. Caitlin Clark's getting better. What, Rust?
9 months away from competitive basketball. 9 months while everyone else stayed sharp, played in Unrivaled, kept their rhythm, and Caitlin Clark comes back and immediately wins FIBA World Cup qualifier MVP. Not just participates, dominates. Led Team USA in points, assists, 2-point field goal percentage, and plus-minus. The question everyone's asking, what rust?
Night and day. The offense, much better when Caitlin Clark was in. Caitlin Clark is the MVP of the FIBA Women's World Cup qualifying tournament in San Juan, averaging 11.6 points per game and 6.4 assists per game. This is her second FIBA MVP award at only 24 years old. Her second MVP award already.
Here's what makes those numbers even more remarkable. She's competing against Breanna Stewart, A'ja Wilson, Kelsey Plum, players who've been in game shape all off-season. Meanwhile, Clark took the entire winter off. No overseas contracts, no 3-on-3 exhibitions. She spent those months working on her craft in private, away from the spotlight. And the results speak for themselves. 11.6 points per game, 6.4 assists per game on 52.9% shooting from the field, 40% from three, 85.7% from the free throw line. Those aren't just solid numbers. Those are elite efficiency metrics. And this is her second FIBA MVP award at 24 years old.
Number 1 in points, number 1 in assists, number 1 in true shooting percentage, number 1 in plus minus, number 1 in 2-point field goal percentage. Number 1 in 2-point field goal percentage. While you got bigs like Angel Reese, you got bigs like Monique Billings, you got bigs like Kiki Iriafin, you got bigs like Dearica Hamby. A guard, who everybody says has no mid-range game. A guard, measly old guard, who people say can't shoot the mid-range. Leads in 2-point field goal percentage. A guard who people say can't get by her defender and get to the rack. Leads the team in field goal percentage. Oh, how interesting.
Now let's talk about that 2-point field goal percentage stat, because this directly contradicts the narrative we've been hearing all season. Critics spent the entire WNBA season claiming Clark has no mid-range game, can't finish at the rim, can't get by defenders, yet in San Juan, playing against the best defenders in the world, she led the entire tournament in 2-point field goal percentage. She's got bigs like A'ja Wilson and Breanna Stewart on her team, players who live in the paint, and a guard with supposedly no interior game is shooting better than all of them inside the arc. That's not a fluke. That's skill development. During those 9 months, everyone thought she was getting rusty.
I'm telling you right now, they reached a deal, verbal agreement. This 2026 season could get very dark for the rest of the league. Could get very dark for the rest of the league. Amber Cox and Kelly Crosswell have got to put an actual team around her, a team that will play to her play style. Got to do that. Can't bring in some old veterans who think that they're going to go for the MVP this year. We got to bring in some role players that know their role. Shout out to The Rock. Know your role and shut your mouth. That's what we need. Spent all that money and time on bots. Angel Reese and Paige Becker's fans are in.
And of course, the reaction from certain corners of social media was exactly what you'd expect. FIBA should be ashamed for giving her the MVP. She only scored in garbage time. The whole tournament was rigged for ratings. One person literally said the league has an agenda, playing it in Ryan's face, whoever Ryan is, for someone who never won Player of the Game once. Let me get this straight. She leads the tournament in 4 major statistical categories, shoots over 50% from the field, and somehow that's not legitimate? The mental gymnastics required to maintain that position must be exhausting.
Shout out to Alex Philippou. We have a deal. This deal is going to be transformational. It's going to build and help create a system where everybody is getting exactly what they deserve and more. Just excited that we can tell our fans that we're going to be back. WNBA and Players Union reach verbal agreement on new CBA terms. Keep those people on threads away from me. After a prolonged labor battle, the WNBA and WNBA Players Association reached a verbal agreement on the terms of a new collective bargaining agreement early Wednesday, just 51 days before the league's 30th season is set to tip off. Quote,
But here's the comment that really captures the moment. Against to a point, I know we want to support women's basketball, but I feel like it's time to boycott. A boycott because Caitlin Clark won MVP, not because of poor officiating, not because of safety concerns, not because of legitimate grievances, because a player they don't like received an award based on statistical performance. And the reply? We have unrivaled. As if 46,000 people boycotting the WNBA is going to make any meaningful impact whatsoever. The league just had its most watched season in 2 decades specifically because of the player they want to boycott. The math isn't mathing.
It's going to be on time. Okay. Engelbert and Executive Director Terry Carmichael Jackson, and 4 members of the Players Association Executive Committee, President Nneka Ogwumike, Vice Presidents Breanna Stewart and Alicia Clark, and Treasurer Breanna Turner, shared the news with reporters in the lobby of the Langham Hotel in Midtown Manhattan. Quote, I think this can be summed up in 2 words. Player empowerment. Players coming to the table and standing on business and being reminded of the collective voice and of what it means to be in a union and the power of this union, Jackson said. They never forgot.
Now, while Clark was winning MVP in San Juan, something significant was happening back in the States. The WNBA and the Players Union reached a verbal agreement on a new collective bargaining agreement just 51 days before the season was supposed to start. After months of contentious negotiations, threats of work stoppages, and public pressure campaigns, both sides finally came to terms. Nneka Ogwumike, Breanna Stewart, Jewel Lloyd, and Nafisa Collier stood in a Midtown Manhattan hotel lobby announcing the deal. Quote, this deal is going to be transformational. It's going to build and help create a system where everybody is getting exactly what they deserve and more.
So if you guys get, 26% means standing on business. Just in case you guys are just joining us, in case you haven't followed along, 26% is standing on business. 26% rev share. You think they got 26% rev share? We'll see what standing on business looks like. But a deal's done, verbally. Let's hope so. Quote, this deal is going to be transformational. It's going to build and help create a system where everybody's getting exactly what they deserve, and more from on the court and off the court aspects. Just excited that we can tell our fans that we're going to be back.
Terry Jackson, the executive director of the Players Association, summed it up in 2 words, player empowerment. She emphasized how the players came to the table with a collective voice, never forgot their power as a union, and took negotiations to the next level. Nneka Ogwumike added, we're just really grateful to be able to come to a deal, we're proud of ourselves, and quite frankly, we always told you we were going to stand on business. And that's what this looks like. Stand on business. That phrase is going to be important in a minute because the details of this deal tell a very different story than the victory lap suggests. The agreement includes growth in salary cap increases, average compensation rising above $500,000, improved facilities and staffing, strengthened housing and retirement benefits, all positive developments. Alicia Clark specifically noted that veteran players on their way out will feel the impact most. Quote, players like me are going to be the ones that feel it the most. And that's why I think we're also very proud, because that's what we set out from the beginning, making sure every player felt a change in the CBA. But notice what's missing from that announcement. Revenue share percentage. The one number that matters most, and neither side mentioned it publicly. Here's what we know from previous reporting. The players were initially pushing for 50% revenue share, matching what NBA players receive. The league countered with significantly less. After months of negotiation, sources indicate the final number landed around 26%. Now, both sides declined to confirm that specific figure, but if accurate, that's standing on business? 26% when you were asking for 50? Let's put that in context. NBA players get 50% of basketball-related income. NFL players get 48%. MLB players get somewhere between 47 and 50%, depending on the revenue stream. Even MLS players, In a league that's still building its financial foundation, get around 25%. So the WNBA players, after all that leverage, after the biggest season in league history, after Caitlin Clark brought unprecedented attention and viewership, settled for approximately 26%. That's not standing on business, that's getting outmaneuvered at the negotiating table. And here's the thing that makes this particularly frustrating: the timing. The players had maximum leverage right now. The 2024 season saw attendance records shattered. Television ratings doubled and tripled. Merchandise sales exploded. Caitlin Clark's rookie season generated more mainstream attention than the league has seen in its entire 29-year history. This was the moment to push for a truly equitable split. Instead, they settled for barely more than half what the men's leagues receive, and then held a press conference celebrating it as transformational. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert called it a fair win-win for all. Terry Jackson added that Engelbert understood that the players' wins were the league's wins, and that our stories and success are shared stories of success. That's nice rhetoric, but shared success should mean shared revenue. 50-50, not 74-26. Now, to be fair, there are complicating factors. The WNBA's financial structure differs from the NBA. The league has historically operated at a loss, subsidized by the NBA. Revenue streams are still developing. Expansion fees, media rights deals, and sponsorship agreements are all in flux. Maybe 26% is actually reasonable given those circumstances, but if that's the case, sell it that way. Explain why the Women's League requires a different model. Don't frame it as player empowerment and standing on business when you're accepting half of what the standard is across every other major professional sports league. Alicia Clark's comment is particularly telling. She said veteran players will feel the change most because they're on their way out. Translation: the older players who controlled these negotiations prioritized immediate benefits for themselves: better housing, improved facilities, higher minimum salaries, over long-term structural equity that would benefit future generations. That's not standing on business, that's cashing out. And you know who's going to bear the consequences of this decision? Caitlin Clark, Paige Buchers, Juju Watkins, the next generation of stars who are driving the league's growth but will be locked into a revenue split that undervalues their contributions for the next 8 years until the next CBA negotiation. Think about what Clark just did in San Juan. 9 months off, comes back, dominates a FIBA qualifier against the best players in the world. Now imagine what she's going to do with a full offseason of preparation heading into her second WNBA season. The fever are building around her. The attention will be even bigger, the ratings will be even higher, and she'll be generating revenue under a structure that gives players 26 cents on the dollar. That's the real story here. Not the feel-good press conference about player empowerment, not the celebration of improved facilities and housing. The story is that the WNBA Players Union had unprecedented leverage and settled for a deal that perpetuates structural inequality for nearly a decade. So when you see Caitlin Clark leading Team USA in scoring and assists, when you watch her sell out arenas next season, when the ratings continue climbing Manis, remember that she's doing it under a system that values her contributions at roughly half what male athletes receive for comparable impact. Standing on business? More like leaving money on the table. And the players who'll pay the price are the ones who weren't in that Manhattan hotel lobby making the deal, the future stars who are just now entering the league and will spend their prime years locked into this agreement. The 2026 season tips off in May. The expansion draft is coming. Free agency for over 100 players is on the horizon. And yes, it's good that we have labor peace. It's good that the season will happen on time. But let's not pretend this deal represents the transformational change the players claimed they were fighting for. Because when you ask for 50% and settle for 26%, that's not a win. That's a compromise. And in this case, it might be a compromise the league will regret when the next generation of players realizes what was left on the table. What do you think? Did the Players Union get a fair deal, or did they fold when they had maximum leverage? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more honest analysis of the WNBA without the sugarcoating, hit that subscribe button.